Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica Flynn and I'm the owner and maker of Flynn Sisters Boutique. And today we are going to be doing a fun little watermelon design in time for summer. Now, you know, I love watermelon designs. I just did another one a couple weeks ago, but this is more of like a abstract watermelon situation. One of the groups I'm in has a challenge this month where we have to do a video of us creating some sort of watermelon tumbler. It doesn't matter what kind, we just got to do it. So I'm really excited to participate in this challenge for my girl Kim's group, and I thought this was so much fun. She said we have to do a video about it and post a video in the group, so I said okay, challenge accepted. Because I always need ideas for videos, and I thought this was perfect. So I'm going to have all the products that you see in this video listed and linked down below in the description box. You might even find some discount codes for you there as well. So that's enough chit chat for me. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey guys, so as usual, we're going to start by prepping our cup. So just a quick sanding. I'm avoiding the bottom. I should also be avoiding that very bottom rim there, but I didn't because I'm planning on taping off the bottom, and I should have taped off the bottom first, but I did not. So anyway, after we did our sanding, I rubbed that down with some rubbing alcohol and a paper towel. Now I'm going to mark off where my tape line is going to be. So I have a silver Sharpie marker. I'm just laying that regular silver Sharpie marker flat against my desk and rolling the bottom rim of the cup against it. This is going to give me a straight line guide to place the edge of my tape. I am not going to be finishing the bottom of my tumbler, so that's why I'm taping off in this way. All right, and that's just black electrical tape that I'm using. Once I've got my tape placed, I am going to prep paint my cup with a matte white spray paint. This is going to give a nice base for my colored paints to adhere to later. This coat of paint doesn't have to be anything special. We mainly just want to get a nice flat white base here. I'm using fine line masking tape that I got on Amazon. I will have it linked down below in the description box of this video. And I'm going to start somewhere at the top, and I'm going to hold that down and get myself a nice curve. And I'm going to bring it around the cup in a swirl-like pattern. I don't really want it right down the center, but a little off from the center. This might take you a couple tries to get that little swirly line exactly how you want it. But the goal here is to have the top and the bottom of that swirl visible from the front side of the cup, okay? And the curvature within your lines, however much you want to have the curve and the swirl, that's totally up to you. This tape is thin enough and like malleable enough to where it's going to let you have a lot of curve in mapping out your design. That's why I really like it. Okay, so after I get that laid down exactly how I want, I'm going to lay a second piece starting at the corner of the first piece that I laid. I'm going to put that right kind of off to the side. I don't know how to explain this shape other than like a fat swirly line. I don't know. You're going to have to just really watch the video and take my word for it. That third piece of tape I'm laying in a similar manner to the very like outside of the swirl that we created. That's where the white rind part of our watermelon will be. All right, so we should have something that looks like this. I'm going to use saran wrap to mask off all of the sections of my cup that I don't want pink. So inside the little swirl that we created with the thin line masking tape is where the pink part of my watermelon will be. And we're going to mask off the remaining sections so that we could spray paint and glitter the pink section first. So the more you pull the saran wrap, the stickier it'll be. If you wanted to use like press and seal wrap, you could do that too, but that's just like a little bit more expensive, so I don't like to use that. And then any of the parts that you're having a hard time getting like stayed put, just use a small piece of the fine line masking tape to just hold it into place. Once we have those sections masked off, I'm going to spray what will be my pink section with the base coat. I'm using Farmer's Daughter by Color Shot. I love this Color Shot spray paint. You can find it at Walmart now. No drips. It dries really fast, and you can see we get excellent color payoff with just one coat, particularly against that flat matte base paint that we did earlier. As soon as our paint dries, which should be pretty quick, I've got 5 milliliters of some fast setting epoxy already mixed here, and we're just going to apply that along the pink section, keeping in mind that we still have the remaining sections still masked off with the saran wrap and the little tape that we did earlier, okay? So I'm just doing epoxy method glitter application first to this pink section. You want to get your epoxy kind of thin, and you definitely want it nice and even, and do your best to work out any of the lines, remembering to just apply it to this pink section. We don't want to overlap or risk getting it into any of the sections that we don't want to apply it just quite yet. I hope that makes sense. I'm using Watermelon Felon from Misc Creations. I have a link and a discount code for this glitter down below in the description box. I've used this in a couple tutorials ago. It's one of my favorite chunky pink glitters I think I've ever used. It's so gorgeous, the perfect shade of hot pink. And I wanted to just kind of sprinkle this through the middle and have it kind of fan out, and then fill in all the blank sections with a finer cut. However, it didn't really work out for me that way. Apply your glitter any way you want. But with this chunkier glitter, I like to just apply like a thin layer and then fill in the sections with a finer cut, just so I don't have as much of a problem epoxying it later. All right, so the fine cut that I'm using to fill in the spaces is Bubblegum, also by Misc Creations. Absolutely love this pink, it's so beautiful. Okay, we're just gonna let it rip right over that chunky glitter that we applied earlier. Once we've got that all coated nicely, I'm going to aggressively tap off the excess, and then we will remove the masking that is just around the pink section. So I'm going to keep my masking tape to the side of what will be our watermelon rind section, if that makes sense. Just watch the video and you'll see what I mean. So here I am removing the masking from our remaining sections here. And then you're going to see me remove the fine line tape from either side of the pink section, but I'm going to leave that piece of tape that's lining out what will later be our white section. The reason I'm doing that is because we used epoxy method to apply that glitter, and if that epoxy dries anywhere near that fine line masking tape, it's going to get stuck. Additionally, I went in with a white acrylic marker to fill in any spots in the white rind section that might have gotten damaged. I accidentally did this step before removing that fine line masking tape. Anyway, I let that pink glitter section dry for at least an hour and a half. Again, that is fast setting epoxy that we use to apply that glitter. Your dry times may vary based on the type and brand of epoxy that you use to apply your glitter. If you're more comfortable with applying your glitter using Mod Podge, you can absolutely do that too. But I find that in sectional glitter designs like this, nothing holds that glitter in place better than good old epoxy method glitter application. That's just my opinion. All right, now I'm going to mask off the pink and white sections to base paint and glitter what will be our green sections. For this, I'm just using some regular blue painter's tape that I've ran against my clothing to take some of the sticky off. We don't want to apply the full force sticky tape against that glitter, okay? So run it against your clothes or your desk to take some of the sticky off. Then use that to mask off the pink and white sections. You may have to trim the edges of your tape with a X-Acto knife, kind of along the lines that you created earlier. So we should have something that looks like this, and I went ahead and base painted it with Color Shots Lime Green. I let that dry for about 10 minutes till it was completely dry to the touch. And now once again, I've got 5 milliliters of a fast setting epoxy that I'm going to spread really thin and evenly in this green section to apply our glitter. I used less than 2 milliliters of epoxy for that application. I'm using Lime Sorbae from Maestra Creations, and again we're going to sprinkle it kind of lightly in this green section, and then we will fill in any spots that we might have missed through that chunky glitter with Limeade. It's like a finer cut, same color of this chunky, kind of, it's a little bit different. All right, and then once we've got everything coated really well, it's nice and sparkly and beautiful, we're gonna aggressively tap off the excess glitter with a pair of scissors against that top rim. Really make sure we tap everything off very well. And then we're gonna go ahead and remove all the remaining masking. This is my favorite part. It was so satisfying to see that come off in all those beautiful clean sections. I'm also going to remove that electrical tape that we applied a long time ago to the bottom rim. All right, make sure that's nice and cleaned up. I'm also going to take some acetone and a paper towel and remove any excess paint or anything that I might have gotten on that bottom rim. If you wanted to be proactive and tape off that bottom a little better than I did, then good for you. All right, I let that green glitter dry for about an hour and a half, and now we're going to do the white section. Again, your dry time on your epoxy may vary based on the brand and type that you used. I'm using some Mod Podge today to apply the white section, and I just brushed it into that little space there very carefully. I'm using Mosaic for this white section. This is a really beautiful white opal glitter with so many different like cuts in it. They're irregular cuts, okay? So it's not a hex cut or a normal shape cut. They're like, I don't know, very weird kind of diamond, not even diamond shape, all different kinds of size cuts in there. But it's absolutely beautiful, super sparkly. Okay, I let that Mod Podge section dry for at least an hour. And now I'm going to go in with some Rust-Oleum 2x clear gloss spray paint, and I'm going to do a very generous spray seal coat on this. All right, so just like 1 or 2 times around is good, and you want to really let this stuff dry. If you epoxy over this wet spray paint, you're going to run into problems. So let that dry for at least a half hour or so, depending on the temperature of your workspace. Now we're going to epoxy this till smooth. The first coat that I'm putting over the glitter is about 60 milliliters. I probably won't use all of it, but because we have so much going on here with our chunky glitter and everything, we want this first coat to be pretty thick. I'm also going to avoid that bottom rim. If any epoxy gets down at the very bottom, I'm just going to wipe it up with some rubbing alcohol and a paper towel. But we do want to have a little overlap of epoxy past our glitter line. That way we're establishing the seal on that outer bottom rim. All right, but we don't want to go past the corner of that to the very bottom of our cup. So we're just going to clean it up if any does. I'm also taking a silicone brush and removing any glitter that got out of place. We shouldn't have too much movement though, because we did a pretty heavy spray seal. Let this coat dry for about 4 to 6 hours, and then I came back and did a second coat. I did use a fast setting epoxy for that first coat. So your dry times will vary based on the type and brand of epoxy you're using. Our goal here is to epoxy this until smooth. Mine took 2 coats of epoxy before it was smooth enough to move on to decals. After my second coat dried, I was able to move on to sanding. I did my normal sanding routine on this one. You guys have heard me talk about this a million times. We sand down that top rim to expose a fine line of stainless steel. This is where our final coats of epoxy will adhere to create the final seal for our tumbler on the outer rim rather than the very top rim where it's more vulnerable. All right, and for my decal, I've already cut and weeded and layered it, and now I'm going to apply it using the hinge method. But first we're going to measure twice, of course, so we only have to cut once. We want to make sure everything's on there nice and straight. And then using the hinge method, I'm going to pull up on one side. We've anchored our decal onto our tumbler using an overlap of transfer tape. I folded back my paper from my decal rather than pulling up. So if you're having trouble with your transfer tape, make sure you're peeling back your paper, not pulling up with your transfer tape. We're going to adhere one side of our decal first, then we'll move on to the second half. Again, peeling back the paper rather than pulling up on the transfer tape and smoothing out really nicely. Make sure everything's nice and smooth and we don't have any bubbles. We're also going to peel back with our transfer tape as close to the cup as we can. This will also help minimize bubbles, particularly with this shiny Opal holographic vinyl that could sometimes give us problems. Next, I'm going to apply my vinyl lines. I cut these with the same Opal holographic vinyl that I used for the decal, and I cut them using my Cricut, using the shapes feature in Cricut Design Space, using a square sized at 11.5 inches by 0.15 inches, and that's how we got the strips. I'm going to apply this along the natural lines that we created with our glitter design, and I'm going to trim right along next to our decal. So we're kind of splicing it. This way I'm not having to apply the vinyl lines, epoxy over it, then put my decal over that. We can do it all in one shot without seeing the seams of those vinyl lines underneath our cute little decal. I'm going to trim the excess along the edges, again with my craft knife. And you want to make sure when you're trimming along the top and bottom edge there that you trim just inside of that glitter line. You don't want to take it all the way to the top and bottom rim because it's really hard to epoxy over that and get it smooth. Repeating that process for the pink lines as well. This retro look is so in right now, and I just think that this kind of design layout would lend itself to all different color combinations. Having that kind of funky vintage retro kind of psychedelic look. I just love it. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I had so much fun making this. I want to see this in different color combinations. I think this is so much fun. You can adapt this same layout for so many different colors. Once I was done with all the vinyl lines, I moved on to do the little watermelon seeds. I debated on how I wanted to do these seeds, and I ended up just calling it a day with my black acrylic marker and drawing them on myself. I personally felt like this was the easiest route to go. Watermelon seeds are such a simple and easy shape. But you can do these however you want, or you can completely leave them out if you wanted to. I just thought it was a cute little detail and really sends a signal that this is indeed a watermelon, however abstract. But it was super quick and easy to get that done. All right, now we're gonna seal all that vinyl in with some Quick Coat. This is a water-based urethane sealer from counterculturediy.com. You guys ask me so many questions about this every time I use it in a video. You can find it at counterculturediy.com. It's a water-based sealer. If you choose to use polyacrylic instead, you can absolutely use that. I don't know what the difference is really. I just prefer the Quick Coat because it dries quick and it's never failed me. All right, I let that dry for about 45 minutes. Again, you want to make sure that stuff's fully dry because you will run into issues if you epoxy over that while it's still a little wet. All right, I've got 30 milliliters of epoxy here. and we're going to coat right over the top of that. Again, you'll notice I'm avoiding that bottom rim. I want to make it really clear on that bottom rim that we are establishing the seal just below the glitter line, but we're leaving the excess epoxy off the very bottom of our cup by wiping it up if we get any on there, okay? Somehow I managed to finish this cup with just one coat over the decal. It was a miracle, but that one coat turned out great, so awesome. We don't have to do a second final coat. I am gonna finish up my bottom though, now that that coat is dry. I'm just cleaning up any kind of goobers with some acetone and a paper towel. And then we're going to make a little glitter butt. To do that, I'm going to apply 2 coats of this pink chalk paint to the indent of my tumbler. This is Flamingo from Chalked Up Paints. I'll have a link and a discount code for it down below in the description box. I'm using a Craft Haven tumbler for this. So the bottom of the cup comes like this. You don't have to alter it in any kind of way to get that well in the bottom. It's already like that. Here's my paint after 2 coats. I'm using Bubblegum and about 10 milliliters of epoxy. We want to add just enough glitter to cover the top of our epoxy in the cup there. You don't want to add too much, and we don't want to add any texture to the epoxy. Like, you don't want it to add so much glitter that it gets thick. All right, you can kind of see in the video here what the texture of my epoxy looks like and the saturation of glitter. And then we're going to pour just enough into that bottom well of our cup to get it covered. You don't want to add too much to where it's like pouring out the side, okay? You'll use way less than that 10 milliliters. I'd say you'd maybe use like half of it almost. Okay, and then we're just going to move our cup around and use, gravity to get it to all ends of that little well. And then I'm going to set this on a safe level surface to dry. This is a fast setting epoxy, so it'll be ready to roll in about 4 hours. And that's it. We were done. So that about covers it for this one. This is, I wouldn't say this is a beginner level tutorial. This was kind of a pain in the butt, but I think it was absolutely worth it. And I am so excited and interested to see your guys' take on this layout. So if you make it, please be sure to tag me on social media so I can see it. I absolutely love seeing what you guys do with my designs. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please be sure to give us a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I upload new videos every Saturday. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. And a big thank you to all of our Flynn Sisters exclusive members. Thank you for your pledge. Your support means the world to our channel. If you love this video, you could check out our last video here. Also be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course subscribe for all our new videos that come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks so much for watching.